Good morning. It's probably morning here. That's why I'm saying good morning wherever you are. Woo! I've been low, off and gone, doing some intense overtime, working some intense overtime. Oh, so yeah. So YouTube started tracking only active viewers. So please like, subscribe, or comment on this video so you can be an active viewer and your get get count so that help spread the message of the great and amazing betenikola. Yes, betenikola. That's me, by the way, in case you didn't know. I'm the great amazing betenikola. You will find out about my amazingness if you stay tuned and like, subscribe, and get that bell notification because everybody loves this. Sorry. Woo. Okay, let's get into it. So, I've I've been hearing a lot about the boogeyman of AI stealing jobs, stealing art, and and stealing your personal information because the companies like God damn, I can't remember the name, but they're stealing your information to train these AI models. But are everyone right? Will they one day steal everything, basically? And you know what? They're right. What everyone's saying is right. They will steal everything. But it's not for the reason you think it is, people. My dear people. You see, I will show you the evil that and great AI boogeyman that we all know. Boom. This is it, people. This is the great evil that will destroy our lives. It is a simple data comes in. I mean, you take like a little cat image, it gets processed through these hidden layers that are called nodes, and then it gets output to the cat image you want. So this is basically it. I mean, there's a horrible nightmare that is this. This. I mean, it's basically trillions and trillions of nodes. I mean, it's not that scary. I mean, oh god, yes it is. I, I mean, when I, I mean, AI itself won't take over. I mean, let me explain. I mean, yeah, AI will be used horribly, horribly wrong to censor us, but let me explain. See, AI again, going back to the simpler information, so we don't have nightmares about lines and mathematical formulas. Like I said, data comes in, it gets processed into whatever. Basically, data comes in, and it's like a giant game of Plinko, this thing. And you see, it just bunch of yes no questions hitting all these little pegs of digital pegs to get your output. And that's basically how you get stuff like this. Multiple legs, arms, heads going into bodies. And let's just say this is bad A. So basically, you have to train it. You gotta take that spray bar out and spritz it. You know, you gotta tell it no. And the way it does this is by taking human data to train it. And of course, there's only so much data in the world. Believe it or not, even though there's trillions and extrillions and gigillions of data, I pretty much probably got that wrong. But there's still a limited number of data. This is why companies are trying their best to steal the work off your computers to train the models. Because information is power to train these models. Of course, this all goes down to training what they considered correct training. You see, every model, you see those, remember those nodes I showed you? Oh, not that one. This one. These little puppies right here. Right here. These little blue things that my head's button against. Each one of these is a mathematical formula that some smart person, college degree guy, figured out. And according to them, you'll get the correct answer on the output for whatever is what they consider correct. And according to Google, not long time ago, that's no white people. That's right. Google had AI called Gemini that no matter how many times or historically accurate you ask it to output an image or documents, it would it would race swap. It would race swap the white people for black people or Asian people. At one point, there was a black Asian black Asian Hitler that popped out. Someone did with Nazis. I'm sure you can find the image somewhere. Y'all Google food is a lot better than mine. But again, this is what they term to be correct. Correct. that wasn't an editing issue. It's just how interesting they think this is it. But whether or not it is correct, it's ultimately, is it good enough? Is it good enough to make you happy? So you don't see, I mean, there's, you see a lot of digital art that has extra fingers in the background or legs or some weirdness in the background, but it's good enough and that people post it. And digital art of your favorite Oshi and other internet celebrities. And it's good enough, right? I mean, that's not exactly a multi-billion-dollar business of just being good enough. You know, just there's not any business area that's just good enough for you, right? I mean, there's nothing like that. You want the best there is, and there's nothing more better than, or mild than Raising Kings. I mean, for me, Raising Kings is so mid. I mean, it's just pepper sauce, guys. I don't see the praise. But again, these are billion-dollar industries just being good enough. I mean, think of Chick-fil-A. It's just a chicken and 2 pickles, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that's good enough for you. And that's where AI will take over, just by being good enough. Good enough to replace people on the assembly, just like machines of old, replacing people on the assembly line, taking the dangerous jobs, which is good because the people themselves aren't getting in danger, but you missing out the job. But they were good enough to do the assembly line work. Or jobs that are being insourced or outsourced to people who are good enough to work day by day. And being paid for pennies on a dollar. Such as jobs, I mean, we all heard the scams and the companies from India and Indonesia or the Philippines. They read a script, you go off that script, and they have no idea what you're talking about. No idea. And it's good enough for most situations, like resetting your password, doing basic things. But if you actually need help, you gotta sit there for hours and hours just trying to find someone that actually knows the system to get things done. But here's the question. Will AI completely take over? Completely take over our lives? Hell no. Hell no. I'm here to tell you hell no. It's not possible. You see, AI, since it's basically trained to be correct, it is censored. It cannot do outside the box thinking that is required for most of the time, most of the tasks. And ultimately, well, actually, scientists have figured it out that AIs are actually collapsing under all this faulty AI information that is being generated by humans using the AI models. It's called collapse, model collapse. Scientific America, for instance, if you start with a language model trained on a human produced data, use the model to generate AI output, then use that output to train a new instance of a model, and use that resulting output to train a third version and fourth, and so on and so on. Which errors build on top of each other. So you have errors upon errors of it. Think about multiple fingers, multiple head errors, compiling thousands and thousands and thousands of tests on each model training. And then eventually, back to the article, the 10th model, prompted to write about history, English, horticulture, spews out gibberish about jackrabbits. And then, was it popular mechanics? Here we go. So, this article says AI is eating its own tail in what can be best described as a terrible game of telephone. AI could be training on aerial field synthetic data until the very thing was trying to create becomes absolute gibberish. This is what AI researchers are calling model collapse. And they are finding out that once a model has collapsed, it is basically brain dead. You cannot bring that model back. So a lot of people are actually starting to theorize as the internet is being filled with more and more AI generated data, which has small little errors in it because it's good enough to post, good enough to set out into the internet. These little errors will build up and start collapsing these AI models. Of course, that's just the theory, but we will see if it will ultimately happen. But there's always AI errors because it's trained by someone who doesn't really understand what the system is. So you get bad coding, you get bad digital art design, because artists go through years and years of training their instincts and eyes and hands to make perfect marks where they need to be. Coders go through a lot of writing code to make efficient code that doesn't slog up your computer. I mean, one error is not going to hurt anything. But if you've got thousands upon thousands of errors, you're starting to run into runtimes. You're dropping frames per minute or frames per second from 120 down to like 2 if you don't write your code or game Unity engine right. So this does matter. And good enough is actually just not good enough in most industries. But, and this is where our saving grace as humans comes from. You see, ultimately, you need human imagination, our ability to think outside the box. will always save us. As long as the human imagination that's involved thinks that the impossible isn't impossible. This guy's pretty cool. Mr. George here, arriving late to his stats class, he scrolled down the 2 problems written on the blackboard, thinking that they were homework assignments, as they normally would have been. Except on this day, they were examples of 2 impossible mathematical equations that the teacher had put up. He solved these problems and handed them in, only to learn weeks later that these were not homework, but 2 famously unsolvable statistics problems. And this was the legendary Good Will Hunting. You see, as long as our brains don't think it's impossible, we will eventually figure it out. Thomas Edison found thousands of ways to make a fail light bulb, but he knew he could make a light bulb. There's millions of inventors who never gave up because they knew it was possible when everyone else said it was impossible. And this isn't just a good feeling thing. This is fact. If we believe if it's possible, we can do it. Going to the moon. We did that. Yeah, we actually did that. We don't go back because it's insanely hard. Because oxygen is very needed. It's actually an oxygen requirement. But going on, and to make my final requirements here, is that society is basically okay with good enough and just running on automation for our lives 70 to 80% of the time. But for the rest of that 100%, we really need the human imagination, the human ability to think outside the box. And you would never get this with AI, because AI would always be trained by someone to think a certain way, to be censored a certain way. Human imagination can't be stopped. Governments have tried in the past, and they ultimately fell, and a new empire or government usually takes over. So, will AI ultimately take over? No. You cannot replace the human imagination, the human ability to work. And just don't ask what's the motivation behind the human imagination, because you won't like the answer to that. I'll just let our famous VTuber honorary shoe on head let you, if you're interested, tell you why. Here you go.